planning on saying when I prepared for today, but I would like to just begin by saying I've been here before several times. I knew it was a beautiful church. I knew the windows were extraordinary. I'm ashamed to admit I forgot how good the liturgy is here. The music, the scripture readings, what a beautiful place. So, just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you all. Also, homilists shoot themselves in the foot when they talk too much about themselves. So let me tell you all about me. When I was a young pastor, ordained just less than 10 years, I became pastor of Okarche, Oklahoma, that produced a man who will be canonized one day, Blessed Stanley Roper. It was a church very much like this. It's about 125, 130 years old. And I got there and being young and stupid and not knowing what I was doing. I looked around and I said, we don't have a hall. We have a gym. This is Weisenburger, Oklahoma. No air conditioning. But we didn't have a hall, so we need a hall. So then we began this project. Half the people thought it was great, and half of them I didn't want to meet in a dark alley. And we had a big meeting one time. Imagine Catholics not being happy with each other. We had a big parish meeting. It was kind of going back and forth. We really want to spend that money. And there was a man that got up. I'll never forget. Maybe you don't remember what priests say so much, but we priests oftentimes remember what you say, especially when it's profound. He was respected in the community, a fairly quiet man, late 50s, early 60s. And he said, my great-grandparents built this church. They were immigrants. My grandparents built the first school. I think that was the 40s. My parents took part in building the first high school in 1959. My generation's done nothing. He said, I want to do this, whether it's a good idea or not. I want to show my children that I've got skin in the game, that this is what matters to me. And I think whenever a parish pulls together and does a serious project, you may not realize it, but what you're saying to the community and to the next generation, this matters to us. And not just the bricks, the glass, and the mortar, as beautiful as they are, but what we discover here and celebrate here. So I think all those who were in leadership here, the priests, Deacon Tony, the lay members and committees, but also all of you who were part of this in any way at all, even if only through prayer, I think you all deserve a round of applause. Now, I think I'm on a roll talking about me, so let me talk some more about me. It's a funny old story, and I didn't make it up, it's true. I went to school in Belgium for 4 years. I don't know why my archbishop seemed to always want me in a foreign country. I was a seminarian, I went to Belgium, then he sent me to Canada when I was there. Anyway, I was studying theology in Belgium. And what I discovered was, we all did, all of my classmates, it was an American seminary at this old university in Louvain, Belgium. Unlike American education systems where you learn some information, you take a test, you write a paper, and then a few weeks later you take a quiz, and then at the end you get a degree. Not on the graduate doctoral cycles there. One 15 to 20 minute oral examination alone with the professor in his or her office. That's your grade. And it covered the entire semester, or in many cases, the entire year. Because on that level of scholarship, they wanted to know, do you really get it, or did you just learn and dump and learn and dump and learn and dump? Or can you pull it together? And it was intimidating, and it was new for Americans. So we were all nervous, and I was in my first year. And so you really crammed, and you studied, and you had to work hard. And there was one professor, he died just a few years ago. His name was Tarcisius von Babel. So if you've had a hard day, be grateful your mom didn't name you Tarcisius. Anyway, He was literally the world's foremost authority on St. Augustine. He was an Augustinian canon who traveled the world, wrote hundreds of articles, numerous books. But unlike many theologians, it wasn't just a science to him. His heart welled up when he taught theology. And we hung on every word because you knew that it meant so much to him. And certain professors for their exam at the end of the year were known as being terrors. He was known to be one of those guys that was pulling for you. And something I think we all know intuitively is if a student loves the teacher, they're going to work twice as hard every time. Not only to learn the material, but to make the teacher happy. And my classmates and I wasn't the only one, we pounded that year of information on Holy Trinity in our heads. I didn't just want to learn about the Trinity, I wanted to well work out. And I went in for my exam, and I was nervous, and I sat down. And he smiled, he was a very kind, elderly gentleman. He asked me a question. Boom, boom, boom. I had it right. So then he went a little deeper, asked me another question. Bang, 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 I had it all. I was brilliant. And he keeps probing, and I keep answering. It's just all there. It's all there. It's all coming together. Kind of like jogging or something. There's a burst of endorphins in the brain when things are going that well. And it just doesn't happen. And there's a big clock on the wall, and I see my time's up, and I'm like, oh my God, this went so well. And I thought he was going to say thank you, goodbye, and he said, Ed, what do you think about the Trinity? I almost said the first part of that. What I wanted to say was, who cares what I think about the Trinity? I knew what 2,000 years of theologians thought about the Trinity. Who cares? You know who cares? He cared. Couldn't tell you today what I said about the Trinity, but it seemed to make him happy, which made me happy. Why am I rambling about this? Did you hear the gospel today? Jesus has been journeying with the disciples. It's time for pop quiz. Some of them were ready for it, one in particular, several weren't. And so he takes them aside gently because he loves them. And he begins, as every teacher does, with the easy questions. Who do others say about me? Well, that's an easy one. All of the disciples could answer that. Some say you're this, some say you're that. Then he zooms in. You. Who do you say that I am? They weren't ready for that. But then suddenly Peter blurts out a good answer. Did you see how joyful Jesus is in that gospel? Jesus just words well up. Because Peter's beginning to get it. And in that moment in time, as Jesus looked at Peter, Peter's response was the only one that mattered. And I suspect a major reason why Peter could answer so well was because he was growing to love the teacher. Brothers and sisters, every time we do something gracious and good for the church, I'm convinced that we fall in our mission a little more intent. Because the truth is, he asks us repeatedly in life, who do you say that I am? And every time in life he asks us that question, his eyes look into ours, and he's on our side. He's yearning for us to get it right. The key is still falling in love with the teacher and remembering that we, like Peter,